Cuomo says Long Island may be the next. CBS News Time is 2,000 of those are in the city. Governor Cuomo today continued to emphasize the state is facing a danger
in the stockpile, but we are taking and we have extraordinary measures in place that can make a difference if we run to a ventilator. The problem in any hospital, we are going to take the ventilators that are not needed. More and more are going to be on Long Island, and then we'll return them or surgery. You don't need elective surgery. Anesthesia machine ventilators without the anesthesia, obviously, but using them as ventilators. We're also so-called splitting ventilators. We put out a protocol. All the hospitals are practicing that now. One ventilator, 2 sets of tubes can do 2 patients. It's not easy. It's not ideal, but it's better than nothing. We're also converting what's called BiPAP machines, which are, again, don't have the same force as a ventilator, but on an emergency basis, some research has been done that says they could be suitable. We are also still in the business of looking for ventilators, to buy ventilators. It's too late to make them in any that would work for our time frame. You look at our time frame, 7 days to 30 days. No one is going to be able to make a ventilator for you in that period of time.
Governor Cuomo in his daily briefing earlier today. And New Jersey's coronavirus numbers are also taking a big jump with 182 deaths reported in just the last day. There are now more than 25,000 total cases. WCBS's Steve Burns has been following the latest from Governor Murphy, and he joins us. We last heard that hospitals in North Jersey were starting to get overwhelmed. What's their status now?
Yeah, Linda, there has been a slight improvement on that. There have been 7 hospitals that were on divert status, which basically meant they were at capacity, just couldn't take on anyone else, so they had to be sent to another hospital. So there were 7, now there are 4, and according to health officials, at least some of those 4 hospitals are different than the original 7. So in any case, the North Jersey hospitals will be getting some relief. The field hospital that's opening up, it's going to be at the Meadowlands Exposition Center in Secaucus, 250 beds. Governor Murphy actually took a tour of it this morning, and it looked pretty much done. It'll be taking non-coronavirus patients off the hands of some of those surrounding hospitals, and there'll be 2 other field hospitals that are set to open up pretty soon that'll do the same thing, one in Edison and a third in Atlantic City.
How's the state doing on supplies like masks and ventilators?
You know, the governor was pretty blunt about it on masks, on ventilators, on hospital beds, on healthcare workers. He just simply said we are not where we need to be.
And having a little trouble connecting with Steve Burns. We will come back to his report and bring that to you. WCBS News Time is 3:35.
With the Marcus by Goldman Sachs no penalty CD. There's a typo, fixed rate guaranteed, and no penalties if you withdraw your balance early? That's right, no penalties. Really? Take 2. With the Marcus by Goldman Sachs no penalty CD, you get a fixed rate of 1.5% for 7 months. There are no penalties if you withdraw your balance early, and you keep the interest you earned. You can money with Marcus by Goldman Sachs. Learn more at marcus.com.
$500 minimum balance required to earn saved annual percentage yield, which may change before account is funded. New withdrawal balance beginning 7 days after funding. Rates of report 2020 Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC.
The way we're all going about doing things these days has changed. But one thing that hasn't is Lowe's commitment to our customers during this very important time. We're here and ready to help with the supplies you need for critical home repairs and products to help keep your home safe and healthy. Remember, you can always shop online at Lowe's.com and have products delivered to you. Home is as important to us as it is to you, and we're in this together.
I'm Andrew Jenks, host of the hit podcast documentary series Gangster Capitalism, which focuses on white-collar corruption in America. Season told the story new season. This time, the spotlight is on the most powerful special interest group in the country, the National Rifle Association. The NRA's mission is to fight for Second Amendment rights. But this story isn't about guns. The NRA is at a crossroads, its very future in question. And it's all because of one thing.
News. And listen for my top of the hour CBS newscast weekdays at 5 p.m. on the radio home for CBS News in New York, WCBS 880. WCBS News time is 3:38. Time for traffic and weather together on the 8th. Here's Jim Feldman.
And no problems at the George Washington Bridge in either direction, Linda. No problems at the Holland Tunnel in either direction as well. At the inbound Lincoln Tunnel is good. Outbound side of the Lincoln Tunnel still have some issues in the center tube, and actually in the inbound side of the center tube as well. Both directions completely closed for operational activity. Don't forget it is cashless tolling also inbound at all three. Also inbound at the Bayonne Bridge, Staten Island bound, also Staten Island bound at the Goethals and the Outer Bridge Crossing. It is also Easy Pass only as well. If you do not have Easy Pass, they will mail that toll to you in the mail, but as of right now, they are not collecting cash. If you are in Queens, still seeing some delays on the eastbound LIE between the BQE and 80th Street stemming from some earlier construction. No problems beyond that getting out into Nassau County. Same on the Grand Central. Van Wyck is moving well from the Bell Parkway to the Q to the LIE, and then on the Whitestone Expressway, a nice ride getting up towards the Whitestone Bridge. Your other East River crossings, RFK, Triborough, the 59th Street Bridge, they're all looking good in either direction. Also, the Arizona Bridge is a nice smooth ride as well. If you are in New Jersey, trouble continues on the westbound side of the Turnpike extension on the Newark Bay Bridge. You still have construction, and heavy delays are going back to 14A. Next traffic update less than 10 minutes away on WCBS.
Let's get our weather forecast now. Over to the Weather Center to meteorologist Bob Larson.
+3 and chilly tonight. Increasing cloudiness through a shower to the area well after midnight. Low 44. Cloudy and windy and quite chilly tomorrow. Occasional rain and drizzle. High tomorrow 52. Wind chills mostly in the 40s. Leftover shower early tomorrow night. Otherwise, mostly sunny tomorrow night. Chilly and breezy. Low 45. The weather will begin to improve on Saturday. Clouds giving way to partial sun. It won't be as windy. It'll be a little milder. Saturday's high 56.
Right now in Manhattan, we've got sunny skies. It's 55 degrees. WCBS News Time is 3:40. Westchester is planning to give county taxpayers a bit of a reprieve. WCBS reporter Sean Adams explains.
If you've lost your job or your business is closed because of coronavirus, Westchester County Executive George Latimer wants to change the law to postpone the due date for the county portion of your property taxes. It would be July 15th instead of April 30th.
Normally, if you don't pay on the due date, there is a penalty fee. It's 2% for the first month, 5% in the second month. That starts to accumulate, and it depends on how much you pay in taxes, but it could be a fairly substantial amount of money. With this provision, postponing it to July 15th, you get a 75-day window to catch your breath. Now, during those 75 days, what we're hoping is that the federal stimulus package that was passed will become manifest.
In order to benefit from the reprieve, you would have to submit a letter explaining your circumstances to your local tax collector. In White Plains, Sean Adams, WCBS News Radio 880.
Social Security beneficiaries who aren't required to file income tax returns will not have to file in order to receive the $1,200 stimulus check. The decision by the Treasury Department was in response to lawmakers and others who pushed back on the earlier ruling that had said otherwise. WCBS News Time is 3:41.
Cultivators in the cul-de-sac. Grow with us on the John Deere expert. Work is about more than just mowing. It's about moments that last a lifetime. Like when your daughter Emily has a shot at making beautiful ball history on her home turf. That's why the XP70 needs nothing but chance. With one-touch mulch control technology and attachments for every season. We serve more than this is more than just grass. It's got pleasures. Nothing runs like a deer. Search John Deere X300 for more.
This is Joanne Jenkins, CEO of AAR Affinity. Every day we're providing trusted information from top health experts, sharing tools to protect families, you and your family. Join us and stay connected.
WCBS News Time is 3:42. Back in 1945, but it won't go on. A couple of local products are finalists. Basketball player Seton Hall's Miles Powell and Odell for the still needs to be reinstated by the NFL. ESPN reports the season-long ban for former athletes in 2020. WCBS News Time is 3:43.
President and CEO of Coronavirus Outbreak. For 75 years, the word has been improving homes all around, and we are proud of the difference we've made in so many lives. In these uncertain times, all of us at Aurora are dedicated to the one home we have in common. We're all in this together. Aurora Home Improvements, your friend in the business, offering online virtual consultations. Bring your home improvement project to life in the comfort of your own home. We go to extremes to build your dreams, even virtually. Visit Aurora.com. New Yorkers, stay home. By staying home, you are doing your part to slow the coronavirus. Together, we can protect the most vulnerable and our healthcare workers. When you go out for essential needs, don't forget to keep your distance between yourself and others. Wash your hands well and often. Cover your nose and mouth when you sneeze or cough. For the latest information, text COVID to 692-692 or visit nyc.gov/coronavirus.
I'm Wayne Cabot.
I'm WCBS anchor Linda Lopez.
I'm Paul Murnane. I'm Michael Wallace. We've faced tough challenges in the Tri-State before. With support from each other, we've always come through stronger than ever. Stopping the spread of the coronavirus is a mission for all of us.
We need to show each other kindness and support.
During this crisis, the WCBS team is here for you. Get the news you need from WCBS 880 and WCBS880.com. For more, go to radio.com/stay connected.
Link Home Care provides unparalleled home care 24/7 to those in need. They are not just another agency. Link is family, serving all 5 boroughs to make the transition to home care smooth and easy for everyone. Link Home Care. You gotta think Link. You're never more than 15 minutes
Because of the corona, to help with the coronavirus. And now President
For able, a number of individuals lives, and so it depends on the hospital, and not just the patient. Well, there are 17, and they're ready to help. We also want to make before they would normally do, which are doctors and less effective. I can tell you.
Northbound side from Nancy, thanks. Seeing some blaze building up there. The support is sponsored by NJ Diet, No Trouble, Gowanus, the BQ Belt. Also a nice ride through Brooklyn as well. FDR and the Henry Hudson are okay in both directions. In the Bronx, the New England Thruway, the Bruckner and the Deegan, Bronxville Parkway, they're all moving well. Same for the Cross Bronx, the outbound side of the George Washington Bridge. Outbound side of the Holland Tunnel is looking bounces your hormones with a side effect of 20 to 40 pounds of weight loss. Contraction.
the high of the sunny skies, WCBS News Time is 3:50. NASA.
Well, we really are on the upside of the surge now, and our hospital systems are really up against it. We are working with them. We've got 11 hospitals in Nassau County, and we are
Talking about businesses and businesses really needing help. What are small businesses telling you, and what kind of help can they get?
Well, while we're dealing with the immediate health crisis, we really have to begin to prepare for the economic crisis that we're facing. So, fortunately, we're out the period by year's end, and more than half will make any problem.
New York City and their needs, lack of supplies. What kind of
One thing is, like what we're hearing in the city, the blood joints are fast, gloves, and gowns. We're collecting donations, and we're also coordinating with the state, scouring the world for these really important supplies to keep our healthcare workers safe and to keep our first responders safe. Our medics have unprecedented work right now. The ambulances, the police as well. We have close to 100 police who have tested positive. Some have come back, have already resolved, but we really need this equipment to keep those essential workers healthy.
Yeah, besides the nearly 100 Nassau County police who have tested positive, about another 176 are quarantined, if that's correct. Are you worried about law enforcement?
Well, we have the best police and corrections department here in Nassau County, and our members are stepping up. They're really showing the grit and the resilience that they're made of, and I couldn't be more proud.
That's Nassau County Executive Laura Kern on the Newsline. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
WCBS News Time is 3:53.
Today, every business is digital. From SEO to e-commerce, AmericanEagle.com delivers innovative website design, development, and business solutions, driving and business growth for their clients. AmericanEagle.com's 20-year partnership with WeatherTech, the global leader in some of the most innovative products in the automotive protection industry, focuses on building and maintaining an e-commerce platform that converts their website traffic into sales revenue. Their e-commerce platform provides a great user experience, accelerating WeatherTech's tremendous growth over the last 2 decades. A customized mobile app that works on any device provides that same satisfying e-commerce experience. AmericanEagle.com provides website design and development and e-commerce solutions for all kinds of businesses in many different industries. When your business needs to think more digital, talk to AmericanEagle.com. Building your digital mindset. Call AmericanEagle.com at 877-WEB-NOW1 or visit AmericanEagle.com.
When someone you love is recovering from an illness or surgery, managing health challenges, or needing care at the end of life, VNSNY, the Visiting Nurse Service of New York, is here to help. We provide nurses, therapists, and home health aides whose skill and compassion are second to none. New Yorkers choose VNSNY to help their loved ones stay out of the hospital and get the care they need at home. Learn more at vnsny.org.
They don't know your name. They have never seen you before, but when they meet you for the first time, you become their heroes and lifesavers without names. The entire Major World staff and their families say thank you to everyone who's on the front lines for their courage and efforts to keep everyone safe. Major World pledges to all of you they will be here for you day and night, today, tomorrow, and forever. MajorWorld.com or 800-MAJOR-AUTO.
We're sponsored by Lowe's. Do your next home improvement project right by shopping Lowe's for deals throughout the store. Do it right or less. Start with Lowe's. For Money News now, and here's Bloomberg's Tracy Jockey.
Linda, the Dow heading for the closing bell with a gain of 449 points. The Nasdaq is up 118. The S&P is up 54. Analysts are telling us that Wall Street news up the Dow would be bad, so investors have been looking elsewhere.
on the 8th. Here's Jim Feldman.
And we spotted on Waze a crash on the westbound side of 80 in the local lanes. When they're right after the split with the New Jersey Turnpike, at least one lane is blocked with that. Southbound Route 35 in South Amboy by Route 9. There was a broken down vehicle that's been cleared. Southbound Route 23 on the ramp to 287, as it has been for about the last 3 weeks. That ramp is still closed and detoured because of the sinkhole. If you're in Westchester, watch out for a crash on the eastbound side of 287. It's right by 684. And eastbound on 84, right before Route 90 in Fishkill. You've got a crash there, too. Nice ride across the Tappan Zee Bridge. A nice ride in Connecticut on the I-95 and also on the Merritt Parkway. In Queens, though, westbound side of the Jackie Robinson Parkway, that is a broken down vehicle that's got crossings. You're A-OK at the Holland and the GWB. You still have problems at the Lincoln Tunnel in both directions of the center tube. That is still closed. Ongoing operational activity. It's in the center tube. Now the forecast from the CBS Weather Center.
Remaining windy tonight, also chilly, becoming cloudy. Maybe a shower or two in the area before daybreak. Low 44, windy and very chilly tomorrow with rain at times. High 52, wind chills no higher than the 40s. Still breezy tomorrow night, a left over shower early, then just cloudy. Low tomorrow night 45. Won't be as windy on Saturday. Clouds to go into some sun. Turning a little milder Saturday afternoon. High 56.
This is WCBS. WCBS FM HD2 New York.
25,000 launched this increase. Some have predicted up to 20 million people will eventually
Worldwide
have received. This is an effort to West News.
items from prudent planning efforts on behalf of the states.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's point man on the virus, is a rock star to some Americans who crave information about the outbreak. While he welcomes the pressure, he's trying not to get caught up in the attention.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says the past few weeks have been tough, but he tells CBS this morning he's okay.
You know, my job, deny that, but that's what I do. I've been through crises like it's really kind of crazy.
The Dow is up 469 points. NASDAQ is ahead 126. This is CBS News.
It's everywhere. Rain at times with a high of 52. It's 403 or 22.
At the current burn rate, we have and needs a ventilator with slightly
Bed Field Hospital incisions from other nearby hospitals drooling.
In Connecticut, there are 3,800 cases. There have been 112 deaths there. Transit and PATH. That money will help the agencies recover expenses to sanitize trains, buses, and rail stations. That money is part of the $2 trillion New York's latest COVID-19 hotspot, Long Island. Another 19 people have died in Nassau County. Our Sophia Hall has more on the economic impact of the virus there.
More than 1,400 business owners here in Nassau. Good.
All of them predict that they will have to do layoffs by the end of the year. Operate through the end of the year.
She says some industries.
When you think about hotels and restaurants, the money that they're losing now,
Government to help the business owners.
the money that they're losing now,
Government to help the business owners.
saw the stock market fall more in a single day than any day since the crash. Science delivers us long-term goals remain the same. And to add to your portfolio. After all, lower prices can be a buying opportunity. Mortgage thanks to new lower rates. If you're unsure of what to do, call us here at Edelman Financial Engines. We've helped our clients get through tumultuous times for 34 years, and we can help you get through this one too. Call us at 888-PLAN-RIC. That's 888-PLAN-RIC. Or visit us
408. Traffic and waiting through the area. There is an accident and the shoulder rings on the cross arm parking down vehicle there. All inside parking rules, they are suspended through Tuesday, April 14th. However, you still need to pay those meters and still have that closure at the center with our chief meteorologist. Starting to look tropical for subtropical anyway, if you want to be technically correct about it, but nonetheless, but it is bringing clouds across Connecticut, Hudson Valley, and Long Island. You've lost the sun for the most part now, and there's actually some rain that has made its way towards the east end of the island, towards Montauk. Meanwhile, from the city on west and south, it's still absolutely beautiful, and temperatures are in the mid. Western suburbs are going to get too much tonight or tomorrow at all, because this is, like I said, an offshore storm. So some rain and drizzle likely for the eastern suburbs, especially. Lows tonight about 45. Friday mostly cloudy with a chance of showers. It's still windy, about 55. Friday night, any showers that are around will come to an end, and the weekend should start off okay. Mixed sun and clouds and highs between 54 and 58. We'll take that. Right now, 57 and sunny though for the city. Humidity 31%, but it's a northwest wind gusting from 30 to 35 miles per hour.
Thanks, Craig. 410 at WCBS. The coronavirus has taken a bite out of crime in New York City. Major crimes were down 4% in March compared to a year ago. From March 12th, when the city declared a state of emergency, to the end of the month, overall crime fell by 20%. If someone's in cardiac arrest and an EMT can't revive them in the field, the patient will no longer be taken to the emergency room in New York City or Long Island. That new guidance from the Regional Emergency Medical Services Council of New York is aimed at preventing people who have no or dealing with a crush of coronavirus patients. The order affects the city and Nassau and Suffolk counties. 15 people were arrested at a large funeral in Lakewood, New Jersey for violating the state's ban on public gatherings. Police say they tried to break up the group of 60 to 70 people. Some of the crowd became unruly. One funeral attendee was charged with hindering his own arrest. Samuel Mannheim of Brooklyn is accused of giving police a false name and social security number. 3 of those arrested were from Brooklyn. The rest lived in Lakewood. 411 at WCBS.
This is Brian Jenkins, CEO of AARP. The coronavirus continues to affect us all, and we are here actively supporting you and your community. We're providing trusted information from top health experts, sharing tools to help protect families from fraud, and creating resources to support family caregivers everywhere. As always, you can count on AARP to advocate for you and your family. Join us and stay connected at aarp.org/coronavirus.
As soon as we're back out in my yard, we take company from the Lions.
Looking progress, always saying grace. But Scott's Turf Builder Triple Action takes care of them all. Now, with one product, you can kill weeds, prevent crabgrass for up to 4 months, and feed for greener grass. Triple Action, so your lawn thrives. Guaranteed. Only from Scott's. Weeds aren't welcome here. This is a Scott's yard. Pick up a bag of Scott's Triple Action today.
412 at WCBS. Now a check of sports. There are reports the British Open won't be played this year for the first time since 1945. Golf's oldest major championship would be the latest event to be called off because of the coronavirus. The Wooden Award, given to the nation's top college basketball player, will be announced next week. A couple of local products are among the finalists. Seton Hall All-American Miles Powell and Obi Toppin of Dayton are among 5 players up for the award. ESPN reports the season-long suspensions of former Astros GM Jeff Luhnow and manager A.J. Hinch will be fulfilled even if there is no baseball this year. They were disciplined for the team stealing signs illegally and were subsequently fined.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why. It works great for us. It works for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
Well, you do sell these very commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better and our clients do better. When it comes to comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why and what you get. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss. If your property needs a COVID-19 surface test, RTK Environmental Group can save you. Without interrupting the medical supply chain, book a COVID-19 test. Visit rtkenvironmental.com. Is your marketing more fairy tale than reality? In real life, the tortoise gets crushed. Good products don't sell themselves, and out of sight means out of business. Did it delivers marketing for
on WCBS.
Good Thursday afternoon, I'm Michael Wallace. Three things to know at 4:15. One, Governor Cuomo says New York may run out of ventilators in 6 days at the current rate of demand. Two, Governor Murphy says 6 people have been charged in New Jersey with assaulting cops by spitting or coughing on them while claiming to have COVID-19. And number 3, the committee has been postponed. Has postponed its convention, that is, until August 7th. The MTA is now recommending riders wear masks. MTA Chairman and CEO Pat Foy is joining us on our Newsline. Thanks so much for being with us. Why the change in this recommendation?
Well, look, Michael, since March 1st, we've provided our employees with 3.2 million gloves and 240,000 masks. This week alone, 75,000 masks. For the week beginning Friday, tomorrow, there'll be 100,000 additional masks distributed to MTA employees. Subway operators, bus operators, conductors, and those having customer-facing or in working with others. We're recommending that customers wear masks and scarves. We're not in a position to provide masks to our customers, but we think that's just a prudent step at this point. But we're going to continue to provide masks and gloves to our employees as we go forward.
Yeah, we've seen some photos and videos of jam-packed trains. What else can you do to make people comply with the social distancing rules?
Well, look, everybody want to heed the dictate, the directive of Governor Cuomo, which is if you're not an essential employee or first responder, stay home, don't get on the subways. Obviously, our ridership has declined. That's a good thing. For those who have to go to work, wear a mask if you're gone home. If the train's crowded, wait for the next one.
You're now advising riders to wear masks. Of course, you're not providing them. They have to bring their own. You have not recommended that until now. So what changed?
I think the CDC's advice on masks has been made. Higher numbers. The CDC seems to be and the WHO seem to be changing their advice, and that's why we're making this recommendation to customers to wear masks or scarves.
How are you doing regarding federal aid? What chunk are you getting out of that $2 trillion stimulus plan?
In the round of funding that is approved and signed by the President on Friday, the MTA is getting nearly $4 billion, which is what we requested. That is helpful aid in light of the ridership decline and the resulting decrease in revenue. However, that pressure on the ridership and revenue is going to continue. We get a significant $6 billion a year on economic sensitive states. It's a fundamental part in a normal non-pandemic year. We don't have any reports on those subsidies, but clearly they will decline significantly. So we and other transit agencies will be going back to the federal government for additional funding. Beyond that, the state budget that was signed into law under the governor's leadership, Speaker Hasty, and the majority leaders, Stuart Cousins, has a number of provisions that are helpful to the MTA. For instance, increasing New York City funding for paratransit to up to $215 million in 2020, capping out at $310 in 2023. Increasing the MTA bond cap to $90 billion, allowing deficit bond financing at the MTA up to $10 billion, and allowing central business district tolling revenues to be lockboxed for operations for the next 2 years. And then, Michael, we announced today that 7 Madison, our former headquarters, will be monetized, and that'll generate $1 billion for the capital plan. Each of these pieces is important. It was important that the state budget included them, and they're important pieces in putting together a financial plan for the MTA. But we've got a lot more work to do with the federal government. We do appreciate the work of the New York State congressional delegation on a bipartisan basis in terms of the nearly $4 billion of funding.
How far has your ridership fallen, Pat, and are you considering reducing service even further?
Well, ridership is on the subways is down about 91%, a similar number on buses. Ordinarily, that would be a bad thing. It's a bad thing from a revenue point of view, but clearly customers to the directives of the governor to stay home if you're not an essential employee or a first responder. And that from a public health point of view is a good thing. Obviously, that's going to have a significant impact on ridership. And we're monitoring that closely, the decline in revenue and the decline in these economically sensitive subsidy payments that we receive in a non-normal year that have a significant impact on our income rate.
Are you looking at reducing service even further, or it's too soon to tell?
Right now, we are running the reduced essential MTA service. Obviously, there's 744 employees who have reported positive, and with some employees calling in sick. It's a challenge running that service, but our plan is to run that as long as we can.
Well, we appreciate your time. We know you're busy. Thanks for joining us, Pat.
Thank you, Michael.
MTA Chairman and CEO Pat Foy here on WCBS. It's 4:21. Let's get you updated on traffic and weather together. We begin with Jim Feldman. And we begin in Queens, Michael, on the northbound side. Single vehicle on Myrtle Avenue, and now we still have some construction in Brooklyn, both directions of the Gowanus near Fort Hamilton Parkway. Traffic will stay less than 10 minutes away at WCBS. 5-day forecast from our chief meteorologist Craig Allen. Sounds like rain's returning this week.
There is rain returning, especially though for Connecticut, parts of the Hudson Valley, and Long Island, because it's swinging around over the top here in a counterclockwise fashion. Big storm is developing out over the Atlantic. Mostly cloudy and windy tonight. Some rain, some drizzle, as I said, mainly the eastern and northeast suburbs, and about 45. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a chance of showers anywhere tomorrow, but they will be light and very spotty inland, a little more frequent near the coast, high near 55. Friday night, showers and rain followed by partial clearing. 54 to 58, so overall about 20 mostly sunny and just nicer. Monday's high will be up near 65. Right now, clouds are starting to roll in, and it's 57 degrees.
Thanks, Craig. 422 at WCBS. We're sponsored by 1-877-8-ABUSED. Or are you abused? The law office of Phillips and Palacelli is ready to hold childhood sexual predators accountable. The clergy, school districts, hospitals. Speak to a lawyer at Phillips and Palacelli now. Call 1-877-8-ABUSED. 8-ABUSED. For jokes and interesting to be showing houses live on FaceTime now.
Now they really want to understand, I think what we've seen too is like what type of material is used on the countertops, or can you tell me the brand of lighting, or can you tell me actually what type of flooring that is? So they're actually asking more specific questions.
Wonderful realtor Sarah Ferris says some city residents who've been thinking about moving to the suburbs are starting to look now, and they want seasonal homes in Fairfield County or houses that are for sale to try it for a while. And she says some buyers are now asking for houses with dual home offices. I'm Joe Connolly for Bloomberg and CBS News Radio 880.
Town Fair Tire is Connecticut's largest name brand discount tire dealer. We give you the guaranteed lowest prices on all name brand tires and honor all manufacturing dealers.
Wall Street did not seem to care. That was President Trump saying that emotions were their price war was sending the price of oil to its lowest in decades. Today, crude futures jumped almost 25%. And the Dow jumped more than 2%, 470 points to 21,413. The Nasdaq was up 127 points at 74.87. The S&P's up 56 points. Mortgage rates have fallen in the last week. The average 30-year fixed rate is now at 3.33%, and only slightly higher than the record low in March. Good for refis if you're still working. As many as 30% of Americans with mortgages could stop paying them if the economy remains closed through the summer or beyond. The estimate from Moody's Analytics covers 15 million households. With Money News at 25 and 55 on WCBS, I'm Bloomberg's Tracy Johnson.
Hello, you know my voice, don't you? Maybe you've used me to find the best burritos within 2 miles of your house. Or even ask me for a joke, like this one. The past, the present, and the future walk into a bar. It was tense. Well, just this once, let me tell you something without you asking me first. For the first time, you can complete the census online. Just go to 2020census.gov and answer a few quick questions. The census won't share any of your information, and it's more secure than a 57-character password. More importantly, you can help inform how billions in funding will be spent each year on things like new roads, schools, or even hospitals. That means this could be the most important thing you ever hear from me. Complete the census online, by phone, or by mail. Shape your future. Start here at 2020census.gov. Paid for by U.S. Census Bureau.
Hi, New Yorkers. This is Health Commissioner Dr. Kitty Sparbo with an urgent message. New Yorkers need to stay home to stop the spread of coronavirus. You must go out to basics like groceries and medicine, practice social distancing, and keep at least 6 feet of space between yourself and other people. Avoid crowds and, yes, put distance between yourself and others. For West from the City, text COVID COVID to 692-692.
God bless America. 21,000 people have volunteered from out of state. These are beautiful, generous people, and New Yorkers will return the favor. When your community needs help, New Yorkers will be there. And you have my personal prayer.
Unprecedented times. Stay connected with WCBS News and radio.com/stay connected. WCBS News Time 4:28. Weather together on the 8th. Check the Lincoln Tunnel with Jim Tobin. It's being closed, the center tube that is, Michael, for about the last 2 hours for ongoing operational activity. So again, both directions of the center tube of the Lincoln Tunnel completely shut down right now. You've got no delays as of right inside as well by Port Hamilton Parkway, some ongoing construction there. Crash is still being cleared in blocks until further notice, and still clearing your crash as well in Westchester. Eastbound side of 287 to White Plains Rock by 684.
It's in the process of developing, intensifying, won't intensify much more, but it will back in towards us overnight tonight and into tomorrow, into the morning hours. It looks like it will affect at least the eastern suburbs, parts of windy, about 55.
This is WCBS News Radio 880.
Governor Cuomo says New York could run out of ventilators next week. The state's death toll has topped 2,300. New Jersey is ready to open a temporary field hospital in Secaucus. 6.6 million Americans filed jobless claims last week, shattering the record set just 2 weeks ago. President Trump says states complaining about a lack of medical supplies should have stocked up before the crisis hit. And breezy, 57 degrees on Thursday, April 2nd. Good afternoon, I'm Michael Wallace. It's 4. There are now 92,000 coronavirus cases. The state will run out of ventilators in 6 days. More from WCBS's Peter Haskell.
By hook or by crook, those BiPAP machines, which are, again, research has been done that says they could be suitable.
The governor believes the current stockpile will run out in 6 days. There's also a renewed focus on the suburbs.
But you see Westchester and Nassau, which by percentage is a
CBS Radio 80.
Has the latest from Governor Murphy.
I know these numbers are stark. They are certainly sobering.
The most recent numbers make the usual advice even more important, says Governor Murphy.
Please, God, stay at home.
Murphy toured the field hospital at the Meadowlands Exposition Center in Secaucus.
That site with a minimal, depending on how they configure it, at the moment it's configured for 250 beds.
In Edison and Atlantic City.
They're coming online not a moment too soon.
Murphy's also introducing what he calls Knucklehead Row.
6 individuals who have been criminally charged for assaulting law enforcement officers by spitting or coughing on them while claiming to have COVID-19.
He says there is a zero-tolerance policy for anyone who, in his words, acts so stupidly. Steve Burns, WCBS News Radio 880. 100
Patients have been hospitalized. Overview puts into perspective the 10 million claims filed in just the last 2 weeks.
And these are numbers that we saw over the course of the entire great. I think that as we look at economic growth, it's obviously come to a standstill, and that started as early as the beginning of March. We are obviously but it's clear from these numbers that we are there. We are 10% drop that we could see in the next quarter. We've seen estimates up to 30%. But what we really are looking at, ever seen before. We're talking about
lost income due to the virus pandemic. President Trump took to Twitter today to answer critics of his administration sharing of medical supplies from the national stockpile. He says some have insatiable appetites and are never satisfied. He did not name names. He says, quote, the complainers should have been stocked up and ready long before this crisis hit. Other states are thrilled with the job we have done. End quote. He says 51 large cargo planes are coming in with medical supplies. Democrats are postponing their national convention until August 17th and having scheduled for mid-July. Those without direct deposit will have to wait longer. A memo obtained by the AP shows the IRS will make about 60 million payments, probably the week of April 13th. Paper checks will be issued starting May 4th, but those could take up to 20 weeks to be delivered. 436 at WCBS.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents
I'm Doug. Breathe out and repeat after me. Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need. Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need. Your
You're a small business owner, and there's nothing small about what you do. That's why Dell Small Business Technology Advisors give you trusted advice. Thanks. Call 877-BUY-DELL to speak with an advisor today. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
They don't know your names. They have never seen you before, but when they meet you for the first time, you become their heroes and lifesavers without names. The entire Major World staff and their families say thank you to everyone who's on the front lines for their courage and efforts to keep everyone safe. Major World pledges to all of you, they will be here for you. Rings End is open for business and following CDC guidelines to ensure the safety of their customers, employees, and the community. Rings End is here to help you through this challenging situation. They're continuing to provide service to you within the constraints of the current pandemic and within the restrictions placed on them by the governing authorities. They'll work to provide essential products and services needed to support you. For the latest information on store hours, delivery, and you.
438 at WCBS. With traffic and weather together on the H. Good afternoon, Tom Kaminsky.
Michael, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, drivers. And for the drivers that are out there on the Cross Island, we did have a collision right around Northern Boulevard. That is now cleared. Everything has been reopened there. Jackie Robinson Parkway westbound at Myrtle Avenue. We had a stall there. That also has been cleared in Brooklyn. Not much in terms of delays yet on the Gowanus, but we do have left lane construction work, repair work, emergency repair work, both ways right around Fort Hamilton. That has now been cleared away. A couple of New Jersey notes. Westbound side of Route 80 in the local lanes of Solid Road in Mount Olive. Chief Meteorologist Craig Allen calls for a chilly night tonight with these winds continuing during the nighttime hours.
WCBS. The government is revising its blood donation policy. CBS's Jim Kennedy tells us who that will affect. The FDA has released a policy on gay and bisexual men donating blood. The order was given without the usual public comment period. The FDA says that's not feasible or appropriate. LGBT rights groups have long campaigned for a total end to the government's policies that specifically target gay and bisexual men. Jim Kennedy, CBS News. They were among the first coronavirus patients in the country. Now they want to be part of the cure for others. WCBS reporter Sean Adams has the story from New Rochelle.
Having recovered from COVID-19, congregants at Young Israel in New Rochelle, some of the first patients are now volunteering to help find a treatment.
Amazing. It was like a breath of fresh air. It was a gift from on high.
Dr. Lizan Poronsky with Montefiore Medical Center says these volunteers have antibodies in their blood plasma that might benefit future patients.
Based on prior epidemics as recently as SARS in 2003 and the H1N1 epidemic in 2009, as well as a mountain of historical data, we believe that the antibodies will have a beneficial effect.
Montefiore and the Children's Health Fund brought a mobile testing unit to the synagogue. As blood is stockpiled, samples will be put through a clinical trial in the months to come. In New Rochelle, Sean Adams, WCBS News Radio 880.
Closing numbers on Wall Street this afternoon. The Dow gained 469 points to 21,413 on word that Russia and Saudi Arabia have agreed to cut their oil production. That sent oil prices surging higher. The Nasdaq was up 126 points today. The S&P gained 56.
Okay, Marcus commercial, take one. With a Marcus by Goldman Sachs, no penalty CD. Wait, there's a typo. A no penalty CD? That can't be right. No, that's right. No penalties. All right, take two. With a Marcus by Goldman Sachs, no penalty CD, you get a fixed rate of 1.7%. 1.7%? Let's just get through the script, okay? Take three. With a Marcus by Goldman Sachs, no penalty CD, you get a fixed rate of 1.7% on your money. There are no penalties if you withdraw your balance early. Come on, man. Even if you withdraw your balance early? Look, if you're not going to read the script, I can just do it myself. Okay. With a Marcus by Goldman Sachs, no penalties. There are no penalties if you withdraw your balance early and yes. Sign up for a no penalty CD today. You can money with Marcus by Goldman Sachs. Learn more at Marcus.com.
Sports. Yesterday, Wimbledon was canceled. Now it appears the British Open is next. There are reports golf's oldest major championship will not be played for the first time since World War II, 1945. The Dayton are among the 5 finalists for the Wooden Award, given the annual release of the nation's top. The winner will be announced on April 7th. The Cowboys have reportedly come to terms with Aldon Smith on a one-year deal with Smith will be reinstated by the NFL. The 30-year-old former first-round pick was suspended indefinitely because of legal and substance abuse issues. 4:43 at WCBS.
Balance of nature, changing the world one life at a time.
Every year I go in to see my doctor's facility, whatever I'm doing, it's working. Just have my physical, the doctor says whatever you're doing, keep doing it, so.
My primary doctor, she couldn't get over how much better I was doing. She said she'd never seen anything like it.
My doctor says keep it up. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. The doctor said she noticed when she first saw me that I was really progressing better, so I think it might have something to do with the nutrition that I've been getting from you guys.
Don't wait to see what gets you to better health today. Again, that's balance of one thing. Very environmentally friendly foods. Make the one thing. Show us about Link Home Care provides unparalleled home care for everyone. Visit linkhomecare.com to learn more. Link Home.
Next 6 days worth of ventilators left in its stocks. We're expecting to hear from Mayor de Blasio. 2 other locations in Edison and Atlantic City will follow. And 3, Russia and Saudi Arabia are oil production. That word pushed oil's prices and stocks higher today. The Dow finished the day 69 points, a gain of more than 2%. S&P 6 million people applied for first-time unemployment benefits.
In New York, we also set a record, much more than last week. 306 this week in his press conference. This week, we're even more impacted than Pennsylvania. California reported more than 800,000 claims last week.
Historically speaking, Greg, how do these figures compare to what we went through, say, during the Great Recession 12 years ago?
30,000 jobs, 100,000 to 900,000. All the New York's economy has probably ever seen. Of course, the big question is, what kind of recession is this? Is it V-shaped? Will we have a sharp rebound? Or is there permanent damage being done in this precipitous fall? That's a question I can't answer because, of course, I don't know how long it's going to go on.
What happens when New York, New Jersey, states that have had trouble with their unemployment systems and people trying to file? What happens when they finally write that ship?
Well, when they write that ship, and because the benefits have been so young for people's lives, they need to do it soon. We're going to see, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the California figure 800,000 in a specific week. I think we're probably going to get to 1 million, 2 million people statewide on unemployment insurance in the near future.
Greg David at Cranes, as always, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
448 at WCBS. Traffic and weather together on the 8th. Back to Tom Kaminsky.
All right, Michael, we start with the Brooklyn Bridge inbound. We have a collision. A couple of lanes are blocked there, so we do see some volume now as you come off of the BQE and start onto the Brooklyn Bridge. If you can use the Manhattan Bridge, that will be better. Now, we have delays also on the Gowanus both ways. Right in the area of Fort Hamilton Parkway, we had some emergency repair work. That is now cleared out of the way. Those travel lanes have been reopened. The westbound side of Route 80, delays in the local lanes is west of the New Jersey Turnpike. A collision in one lane's blocked. An emergency repair on the eastbound side of Route 46 at Mount Olive Road. At least one lane closed there. Fairfield County, Connecticut Turnpike, Merritt Parkway at this point. No delays to report. I'm Tom Kaminsky in the WCBS Traffic Center.
Tom, thanks. Craig, stand by. We're going to go live to Mayor Blasio. He's begun his daily briefing on COVID-19 in New York
Station 50, meeting some of our extraordinary EMTs and paramedics. They are literally in the last few days gone through the biggest surge in 911 calls in the history of New York City. And I got to tell you, these brave individuals, they were so strong the way they were dealing with this crisis. They were confident. They believed that their training and their partnership, their camaraderie, were going to serve them in this crisis no matter what. They let me know they were up for any challenge, and they were also very grateful that help was arriving. And that's the second part of what I experienced this morning. I was at Fort Totten in Queens. It's a FEMA staging area now. And EMTs and paramedics came from all over the nation to help us in our hour of need. Folks from states all over. You know, at one point I was talking to these EMTs and paramedics. I was thanking them on behalf of all 8.6 million New Yorkers. I was telling them what it meant to us that they had come from all over the country in their ambulances, and how powerful that was to us, and how that gave us such a good feeling in this city, and what it meant to our brave EMTs and paramedics that this help was coming. At one point I said to them, please call out the states you're from, and I just had a shiver went up my spine. I felt this sense, this really profound sense of appreciation and faith as I heard this roll call of states. You know, Kentucky and Alabama and Indiana and Illinois and California and Michigan, one after another, people called out the names of their states with pride. And they were so proud to be here in New York City. And they knew that New York City had often been there for them. The FDNY had been out many times around the country helping other parts of this country during natural disasters. And that is appreciated. That people want to return. People are rising to the call in such a powerful way. And that help, those hundreds of EMTs and paramedics and the 250 ambulances that are here already. I got to watch some of them roll out of Fort Totten. That's amazing what that's doing immediately to help us to deal with all the emergencies we're facing around this city. A special shout out to two guys from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I had a good talk with them, Andrew and Jeff. And they literally got in their rig and they got in their ambulance in Kalamazoo and drove all the way to New York City, and they were just ready to go to help us out. And so a special thank you to our friends from Kalamazoo for being a part of this. I spoke earlier today with the president and a group of key members of his administration that he had gathered. They were having a strategy session, and they called to ask me what was going on in New York City and how the federal government could continue to help. So it was the president, Vice President Pence, the FEMA Administrator Pete Gaynor, Dr. Deborah Brooks, the Coronavirus Response Director, Admiral Giroir, who's the head of the Public Health Service, the Equipment Czar, Peter Navarro, the President's Senior Advisor, Jared Kushner, who's obviously a New Yorker and knows a lot about this city and cares about this city. So we got into a very detailed conversation about where we stand. First of all, I thank them deeply for what they did for the NYPD. The Operation Blue Bloods, I think that's a great name. Helping NYPD to have the protective gear they need at this moment. We appreciate that special effort the White House made. The real difficult part of the conversation was talking about the days ahead. We went into great detail about the number of New Yorkers in ICUs, the number we projected coming up this Sunday and Monday. The facts that were so powerful and challenging about what we're going to face next week. I talked to the president about the need for ventilators. I talked to him about the need for N95 masks and other detail about the personnel reality and the whole group of leaders assembled. The fact that even with the equipment, you always need the personnel. All these doctors and nurses and extraordinary healthcare workers, we need more and more help. I talked to the president about the expansion of beds. And I will say the president knows something about real estate in New York City, and I talked to him about the fact that we had 20,000 hospital beds just a month ago, and we're going to be adding up to 65,000 more to handle this crisis, and that's going to happen all in the course of about 4 weeks. And I think he understood that that will be a Herculean effort. But I said to him, we believe we can do that, taking a huge number of public spaces, converting them, hotels by the dozen, that we can actually build out that capacity, but it won't save us unless the personnel is there. So we had a very good conversation. I was thankful for the help we'd received, and I immediately told him just how much more we're going to need, and I told him we will fight every minute of this crisis to get through it, and then we will turn around and give everything we have and send our heroes to other parts of the country to help. And I really appreciated the conversation because it was detailed and it was sober about the facts. But I was also clear with them that I believe at this point we have to come to a recognition that anything short of a full mobilization of our military will not serve this nation sufficiently. Just going over the situation in New York City and pointing out, imagine for a moment, we had 20,000 hospital beds. We're talking about needing 3 times more of that just to get through the next 4 weeks or so. Imagine that pattern in other parts of our nation, what that's going to mean for the ability to build out our healthcare system and protect our people in many places simultaneously. The only way that can be achieved is with the leadership of the United States military. They have the talent, the logistical capacity, the professionals that can play a crucial role. There's no other way around. So I had a good and respectful conversation with the president, but I also had an urgent conversation with him. I told him I just think this is the only way we're all going to be able to get through this and save as many lives as possible, is to use the military much more deeply. I reiterated to the president what I talked to him about several times last week, the fact that we need personnel right now, and we need military medical personnel right now, and that I had asked repeatedly and in writing many times for help by this Sunday. We had asked for military medical personnel, 1,000 nurses, 300 respiratory therapists, 150 doctors. These numbers I've been over with the president, with the Secretary of Defense, and with General Milley numerous times. They're quite familiar with the request. I had a follow-up conversation with Secretary Esper and General Milley again this afternoon. I'm going to be talking to the FEMA administrator again to reiterate that this is crucial and he will have the ultimate military medical personnel are made available. But again, it comes down to this. This is a wartime dynamic. And everyone in Washington has to understand that right now too much of what's happening is on a peacetime basis. There's a disconnect, and I want to just be blunt about that. We're in the middle of a war. We can feel it here in New York City. I could feel it this morning when I stood with those good men and women, those EMTs and paramedics from all over the nation. It didn't feel like business as usual. It felt like we were in a war and people were coming to save us. We need a lot more of that to our medical personnel on a national basis. We don't have the same kind of draft we used to have. But we're going to have to create something new right now, at this moment in history, to enlist all available medical personnel from around the country, and I mean civilians. Anyone with medical training, anywhere in the country, who can be spared by their city, their town, their state. The only way we're going to get through this truly, if we're going to save every life we can save, it means taking health professionals of every kind, with every skill, every training, no matter where they are in their career, and enlisting them in a national service, creating something we just don't have right now, but we could have, and we need that. So what I talked to the President about, the Secretary General Milley, going to a place we've never been before, because we are actually dealing with a crisis we've never experienced before, and we have to innovate. We have to see possibilities that we just didn't see before. Numbers, and I could tell there were some real silences during the conversation, some real acknowledgement of just how tough it's going to be in the weeks ahead in New York City. But we know there's other places about to face this same reality. If we're all starting to fully, deeply recognize the extent of the crisis, then let's act like one nation, fight this crisis together, enlisting everyone possible into this cause, whether they be the men and women of our military and our reserves, or whether it be civilians who could bring their extraordinary skills to bear where needed most. It's time for that in this country. I did talk to the President about the ventilator situation, as I mentioned, and the 400 ventilators that we found out late yesterday would be coming in time and be in place by Sunday morning. That was the number I mentioned yesterday we absolutely have to ensure we could protect everyone in need. Those ventilators came out of the federal allotment that went to New York State. I want to thank both the federal government and FEMA and New York State for quickly making ventilators. We will get through Sunday. It's still true. We will need 2,500. I'm not going to sugarcoat the number to reach. I know everyone's fighting to get more ventilators, create more ventilators, manufacture them. But for all those folks who are about to arrive in hospitals around the city whose lives we must save, their simple need is not for us to talk about, but to find those ventilators somewhere, somehow. And I put that clearly on the table. And said to the leadership of our nation that it is, I think, a national priority to find those 2,500 to 3,000 ventilators and get them to New York City over the next 7 days. So we talked also here in New York City about other tools we're going to use. The BiPAP machines, which are something that could be really helpful in ensuring that for some patients, they can be kept off the ventilators, or at least for a period of time. We're getting some of those in. We're training staff on how to use them. That will be a part of the equation that will help as well. The fact is, people want to help us, as I said, from all over the country. If you can help, anyone out there, if you can help, please go to our website, nyc.gov/help now, or call 833-NYC-0040. Folks all over the nation want to help, but particularly if there's anybody anywhere has a ventilator they can get to us, that is particularly important. Anyone who's a medical professional wants to come here and help us, we have the accommodations. We will immediately plug you in. We need your help right now. with the questions we're having with our health commissioner, Dr. Barbeau. But I want to emphasize that we, throughout these last few months, this city, this state, this nation, the global community of nations, the global medical community, everyone has been trying to learn as rapidly as possible everything they can about the coronavirus. And we still know there's a lot we don't know. And that's a really challenging reality. One of our heroes at this moment in our nation, someone I'm very, very proud of as a New Yorker, is Dr. Anthony Fauci. And even with that wonderful, reassuring voice and that knowledge and that wisdom, he's the first to say there's a lot we don't know. But we are learning every day and every week more. And we're trying to act rapidly on what we learn. Sometimes you reach that point where there's just enough confirmation, enough new information to say, okay, it's time to do something different. So there have been studies recently on people who are asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, and whether they could transmit the coronavirus to others. One particularly important study coming out of Singapore yesterday. Our health department, our healthcare leadership have looked at these studies. There's been several in the last week or so, and have come to a conclusion that it's time to advise New Yorkers to do something different. I want to emphasize, what I'm about to tell you must be observed no matter what. Abide by social distancing. Just as important as it was, wear a face covering when you go outside and will be near other people. So let's be clear. This is a face covering. Again, we'll talk about the details in a moment, but it could be a scarf. It could be something you create yourself at home. It could be a bandana. It does not need to be a professional surgical mask. In fact, we don't want you to use the kinds of masks that our first responders need, that our healthcare workers need. Don't use those. It can't be clearer. Leave those alone. Leave those to the people needing them the most, who are saving lives. But you can create a face covering with anything you have at home right now, any piece of cloth, and that will give the protection to others. And I want to emphasize this. I think there's been, a certain amount of misunderstanding, and we're all dealing with so much information and so many things that are kind of tough to understand and confusing. The reason for this guidance is because the studies are showing that some asymptomatic people, some pre-symptomatic people appear to actually be transmitting this disease. We don't have perfect evidence. It doesn't conform with what the initial information showed us weeks ago, but it does seem to be more and more evident. What that means is when you put on that face covering, you're protecting everyone else. You're making sure that, you don't inadvertently, if you happen to have this disease, and you may not even know it, you don't end up giving it to someone else. Now remember, with community spread, with the projections we've told you, over half of New Yorkers will contract this disease from everything we know. It means that a lot of people are out there right this minute, don't even know they have it. We want to make sure that anyone who doesn't have to get it doesn't get it. So face covering is just a simple way to protect other people and to reduce the speed of that community spread, and hopefully keep a number of people from being affected who don't have to be affected. Again, you can create your own version. You can be creative and put whatever decoration you want on it. It can be as homemade as you want. But that's what we want you to do, something homemade, not something professional, not something from the supplies we need for our heroes. And that's going to help protect everyone. I have a few other updates. We've talked a lot about the fact that there are more and more people who need food, because let's face it, even though, thank God, there is some federal help, many people lost their jobs, lost their income, don't yet have that help, are struggling to pay for food. We can't have that in New York City. We have to help people more and more. I named a few weeks ago food czar Catherine Garcia, who's done an amazing job for this city on many other crucial missions. And her job is to make sure that food is available to everyone who needs it, and to build out a bigger plan for the weeks ahead. She's working especially now with the Department of Education that had feeding sites up for our students. Even though they weren't schools the way they've normally been, they were turned into sites to provide meals to kids who needed them. So we've got about 435 sites around the 5 boroughs where young people can go and get meals for free. They can get breakfast, lunch, and dinner all to go, grab and go, and they can bring them home and eat them when they're ready. If other people at home need food, they can get it for them as well. So what we're doing starting tomorrow is we're welcoming adults. Anyone who needs food, anyone who's hungry, can come to these 435 sites. You can get all 3 meals for yourself and your family for free. No one will be turned away. I want to really emphasize that. There's no charge, and no one will be turned away. You can go online, nyc.gov, and get the sites. You can call 311 24 hours a day and get the sites. But we know people are hurting. We don't want anyone to go hungry in the city. So there's 435 places starting tomorrow, not just for kids, but for adults as well. Everyone who's hungry has a place to go to get food. Just to tell you, for kids and for families with kids, we're going to do the early morning hours for pickups at 7:30 to 11:30 a.m. And then from 11:30 to 1:30 for any adults who don't have kids with them, you can go in that time frame. So again, 7:30 to 11:30 a.m. for children and families with children, 7:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. each day for adults. And if you want to find a school in your area, you can text the word food, or if you speak Spanish, the word comida, to 877-877, and they'll get you the location. Okay, a couple of quick things. Small businesses, is a heads up to all the small business owners that starting tomorrow, the federal Paycheck Protection Program opens up. It's a key part of the stimulus, $350 billion loan program. It's for businesses and for nonprofit organizations that have employees up to a number of 500 people, so it's a lot of businesses will qualify. And we know how hard hit our small businesses and our nonprofits have been these last weeks. It's been horrible. You deserve this opportunity to get these loans to keep afloat, build for the future. But here's the punchline. This is a first come, first served basis. So, first come, first served. Therefore, you need to apply as early in the morning tomorrow as possible. So, New Yorkers, the early bird gets the worm here. Go to SBA.gov. SBA.gov. And there are loans on very good terms, and they are forgivable loans. And there's specific categories that you can get going online. They'll talk to you about all the ways that these loans have been made flexible and forgivable. And they cover a lot of different things, not just costs related to your payroll, but also interest on mortgages, your rent, your utility payments. A very flexible program to help people through this crisis, so please sign up immediately. I'm going to close now. I talked to you about a lot of reasons to hope, but I also always owe it to you to tell you when we've lost a friend and to mourn with particularly all of us in public service. When we lose one of our own, it hits home especially. Our Department of Citywide Administrative Services, they've been doing so much work these last few weeks to help everyone else to get the help they need. Well, now they've lost a dear colleague and a leader in that agency, Lenine Fierro, a Director of Safety, and the Vision Zero Director for Fleet Management at DCAS. This is an amazing story. He 10 years in the United States Navy, joined our team 5 years ago, helped off the city drivers and how to drive safely. Amazing contribution. To his wife Brenda and his 2 daughters, we grieve with you, and we have truly lost a great man. And every New Yorker right now, we are doing all we can to help those who are sick, and we are grieving for those we've lost in this city. It's not who we are. I have to tell you, those EMTs and paramedics today, I saw resolve, I saw toughness, I saw a belief that we were going to get through it. And the same is true with our frontline heroes, our healthcare workers. Same is true with the folks working the grocery stores and the pharmacies to make sure their communities are safe and have what they need. So many New Yorkers, by the way, the vast majority of New Yorkers who are practicing social distancing, who are doing it right, who are looking out for each other. Everyone is showing an incredible spirit of perseverance. I'm very, very proud of all of you. I have no question we will see this through together. I have no question in the end New Yorkers will watch out for each other. And every time that someone comes to our aid from around the country, it's going to give us that boost we need to fight our way through and come out together.
All New Yorkers to wear masks in public. He says use a bandana or a scarf or a piece of clothing, something homemade, but cover your mouth and nose in public. And he asks that the N95 mask be preserved for healthcare workers. He also mentioned that the city is expanding grab-and-go meals to all New Yorkers. At schools, all New Yorkers will be able to access those meals, 3 meals a day, not just children and families.
With that, we will turn to...
And we return now to Mayor de Blasio's press conference.
From the media. And please let me know each name and media outlet.
Hi all, just a reminder that we have Dr. Barbeau here in person, and on the phone we have Commissioner Shea, Commissioner Garcia, Chancellor Carranza, Deputy Mayor Bean, and Dr. Katz. With that, we'll start with Aaron from Politico.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. I'm wondering if you can just go into a little more detail on this mask or face covering guidance. If you have old masks sitting around, paper ones, can you use those? Do you need to use them once and then discard them? How can you sanitize cloth, homemade masks? Just kind of the practicalities of how this is going to work if everyone's supposed to be covering their faces now.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm going to ask, obviously Dr. Barbeau will go into the details, but I think you raise a really, really helpful set of questions there. Reminding everyone, face coverings, so I want to actually not use the word masks, because when you think of masks, you're talking about what our healthcare workers and our first responders need, and those precious supplies that we keep bringing in, those PPEs, that's for them, that's for all the people at the front line who need it. If you got something around the house already, Dr. Barbeau will talk about how to deal with that, but I'm talking about face coverings to distinguish things you can create yourself. Like I said, scarves, bandanas. I think Dr. Barbeau will be the first. She's a good New Yorker, grew up in the Bronx. She'll be the first to say it doesn't have to be fancy to work. It can be real homegrown, and it will still help protect others. So, Dr. Barbeau.
Yes, I think that's a good thing. The less fancy, the better. So, again, these face coverings are intended to do two things. One is for individuals who may be at the very, very beginning of an illness and don't yet know it, and so they're pre-symptomatic, ensure that they don't transmit infection to other people when they have to go out for essential activities. The other thing that these face coverings do is, again, if someone has to go outside, I want them to be a reminder for anyone that they may come in contact with to keep the distance of 6 feet. These face coverings shouldn't be seen as an invitation to come closer. They should actually be an indication to keep 6 feet distance. And so in terms of the materials for these face coverings and the upkeep, etc., if someone has a paper